Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I was on Facebook Marketplace, like you do, poking about looking for a bargain, and I found this thing. Now, the fella said that the engine was locked up. The funny thing is it appears to be in really, really good condition. Um, it's not, I mean, the stickers are a little faded out and stuff, mostly I'd say from being stored outside, which is always a mistake with a wood splitter. Um, the paint is hardly worn. There's a little bit of surface rust here, but as far as scratches and stuff from the sled going back and forth, there really isn't any. It's just not that beat up. The wear on this piece is minimal. That's part of the sled here that goes back and forth. The edge has one little teeny ding in it right there, but for the most part, it is sharp and straight. Um, this piece, hardly anywhere. I'm going to say that this thing hasn't really been used a lot. I think it mostly sat. The pipes are good. The hoses are good. Even the tires hold air. And they're highway tires. Strange as that might be. Now she's leaking in a few places here. I see a bit of a leak. I put cardboard under it to figure out where the leaks are coming from. There's a bit of a leak under this filter. I don't know about this hose, but I think it may be leaking as well. I don't know why. I haven't really researched that. The lever that you move the thing in and out, it moves. But it's got just a smidge of rust on it right there. I don't know that that'll hurt anything. It seems fairly free, but now that could be the return until it gets full. It might be locking on purpose, but there is some rust right around here. It's coming off with my finger, so okay, maybe there isn't really. Nah, that's good. Nothing wrong there. Still got to give it a little squirt. It almost looks like a screw-on cap went there, but I don't see it. I don't know why there wouldn't be, but this appears to be an adjustment for the travel. How far this will go, I'm not sure why it's screwed in all the way, but it is. But yeah, it overall it's pretty clean. And insofar as the engine goes, the guy said locked right up. Said moisture got in it. I assume that means rain. I don't know how. Looking it over, I don't see how water could have actually got in the block, but maybe through the air cleaner, although it doesn't appear to be bad. Certainly not the muffler. It's rigged where the water, it down blasts here, so water would just glance off, though it shouldn't really be able to get in it. The engine says Kohler, which is a lie. That is a fake Predator, if I ever seen one. There's some Chinese companies cranking these out for Kohler, I'm sure. But locked up? Nope. Know what else I don't feel? Not even a hint of compression. So my guess would be the valves are rusty and stuck. Could be worse. Could have tossed a rod for all I know. But I do not feel what I would consider to be any amount of compression at all. I mean, as you pull it out, it doesn't even. I mean, I'm holding it with two fingers, and if you hit a stop, you'd feel a stop. So, gonna say there's a possibility that engine is deceased. But it also could be something that's fixable. We won't know till we get in it. When I got it, this was dangling in the breeze. It's a spark plug cable, and there's leaves. That's never a good sign. But the spark plug even looks pretty clean and not rusted. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to say this hose, now that is a problem. This hose, this is the crankcase ventilation hose, is not on. It is conceivable water somehow got in there, but unless it was underwater, I don't see how. I also see a loose bolt in the valve cover. So someone else had the same thought I did. Something's amiss with these valves. Or they looked in there, determined that wasn't it, and moved along. Could be they've been a push rod. I just don't know. Although if it had a bent push rod, it'd be a lot harder to pull if the valves were shut, because you'd be working against a sealed cylinder. It never opened to let the air out or in. Don't know, but we're going to find out. Let me get you into a stand and come up with a plan here. I think we're going to take whatever's in that gas tank is, I'm sure, ruined. So we're going to take the gas tank off and drain it. The air cleaner is in the way. It's going to have to go. And possibly the cover on that muffler looks like it's in the way of the valve cover. It may not be. I might be able to squirrel it out of there, but in the interest of having room to work, I may just take that cover off of that muffler anyway, just so I can get in closer. The pump isn't stuck, so there's that. Doesn't mean that this tank isn't completely full of water. It doesn't look, I mean, it's got to have a vent, right? I don't see it, but it's got to have one. And I don't know that water could get in there very easily. So I can try to check that fluid, see if it's any good. It does have a drain. So I could just drain what's in it out, look for water. If it's fine, put it back in. The way it's leaking, there's a chance I'm going to have to put a lot of fluid in it, possibly just change it all. But anyway, what we're going to do is start taking this thing apart and see why that engine doesn't work. Now, spoiler alert, I've got a Chinese knockoff Predator that I took out of my golf cart. I had tried that first before I put a different motor in it. And I'm thinking that engine will probably replace this because it says 6.5, and so does this one. Now, what's funny about that? That one runs on propane. It'll run on gas too. I'd much rather run on propane, and I'll tell you why. It isn't because propane makes any more power. It really doesn't. Propane cheaper? It's close. I wouldn't, I don't think there's enough difference to matter. That's not the thing either. The thing is, these carburetors on Predators and basically every other engine is stupid alcohol gas. You can't hardly get ethanol free. And even when you do, unless you religiously drain the carburetor out every time you use it, not just turn the gas off, but drain the carburetor, whatever's in there evaporates and leaves you some crust. It does that several times till the carburetor doesn't work. You switch it over to propane, you never clean a carburetor again for the rest of your life. The carburetor is barely even used. The only thing that's used is the throttle body. So probably going to switch this to propane. The way I use it and where I would use it, propane would be the way. And if I ever sell it, they may not want propane. That's no problem because I've got a brand new gas carburetor I never even used for the motor. I just took it straight off and put the propane carb on, which honestly, the carb part was it's almost unnecessary because the way they put propane into these things is kind of simple. Anyway, I'm going to get you set up into a stand here and we're going to start poking about and see if we can discover what has gone wrong, if it's fixable, and if it's not fixable, what's going to take to swap that motor out. Now I'll be back. All right, let's get this muffler thing out of the way. Reverse. Better check which way that is. That's not it. That's it. Okay. Squeak, squeak. A little rusty. And that's what happens when you leave your splitter outside. There. Okay. That's going to let me take this cover off, or it should. Oh, but it won't, because there is another bolt there. So, I'm going to wait a second on that. I need to get my nut bucket over here. Let me get this air cleaner first. Make some room to get at that. So we got obviously Predator air cleaner. That looks like it's been wet. Water may have gotten in the carburetor. Although, the only way it could do that is if it got in through the wing nut. It comes off okay. This piece is all part of the carburetor. 10 millimeter. Yeah, oh, that's loose. Nice. Loose as it can be. Check this out. I didn't even get a tool on that. Just right off she comes. Now why? Well, I'm developing less faith in this motor running in the future. But this should just walk right off of there. Good. Fuel. That weighs on. No, it says off. Oh, that's choke. Okay, yeah. All right, good. The fuel is off. Thank heavens, because that fuel, I'm sure, is deceased. That thing's not exactly attached. What do I need to get this last nut off there? It's smaller than an 8. It almost looks 1/4 inch, but I know it can't hardly be. 6? 7. Let's try 7. Got 2 of them, actually. 7's a little weeble wobbly there. I think it'll work, but it seems a little soft to me. All right. Take this little bit off. See if I can sneak in like that. Yep. That's one. And can I get in there? That muffler's loose. Never a good sign. They've been taking this thing all apart. All right, let's get this out of here. That's not a good sign. That is not a thing I want that muffler to be doing when I buy one. Well, no time like the present to remove that. I'm just going to take it off by hand. I need a tool for that. That fills me with trepidation and other worrisome words. Loose. Oh, yeah. Loose as can be. Not a good sign. Okay. Well, there's the muffler. Gasket's still there. Pretty good muffler, honestly. A little better grade than what you would find on a Harbor Freight. But a Harbor Freight is extremely cheap motor. Like $100 on sale for the little common one. The little 6.5 horse. 212, is it? I think all of them are lying. I think every one of them's the same displacement, just about. Okay, well, the carburetor's practically fallen off, but we're not interested in the carburetor yet. We're interested in this valve cover because we want to know why we got no compression. Okay, valve cover bolt. Valve cover bolt. I'm glad I got a piece of cardboard under this. Valve cover bolt. Let's quit doing this by hand if we can avoid it. Let me see here. I've got a socket that'll fit that. Let's take these out rapido. Let's see, are we in a place where you can see what's going on? One. Okay, this one I'm not going to bother with the tool because it's practically out already. Because when you take something like this apart, why would you put it back together after storing it in the weather? All right. And gasket's in good shape. Let's pull the rope. That valve moved. That valve barely moved. There, it moved a bunch, so that's the compression release. Everything's fine there. I mean, fine as in it's still moving. It's not nothing rusted. The valves I don't think are stuck. No, that one moves. That one moves. Okay, so spark plug's loose. There's a good sign. Take spark plug out. I'm to the point where I believe this thing has chucked the rod in a grand detonation. Now remember, I bought this thing under the impression that the motor was blown entirely. So if in fact the piston's moving, okay, explain that crap to me. That is not a thrown rod. Where's my compression? Oh, I just felt a big puff. Air is puffing out of the push rod holes, I guess, or something. It sure ain't the spark plug hole. It honestly feels like it's right there. I don't know how it could be. There is some air coming out of the spark plug hole. Hole in the piston? That's basically unlikely. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but severely unlikely. Huh. What's going on here? I do feel a lot of air. Where is that? Where is that coming from? Down here, maybe? Nope. It feels like it's coming from right here. But how could it be? Well, one thing you can do is, because these are weak springs, they always are, you can turn that sideways a little. Take that push rod out. Blop. There it is. Is this moving? Did that? No, the valve couldn't have fell down in there. How would air get out of there? I still feel air coming in over here. Let me take that push rod out. These should be identical. They are. Now, both valves are closed. I still got air coming out of somewhere. But where? Let me find that spark plug. That spark plug back on. It's almost like compression's walking right past the rings, which I gotta tell you is unlikely. A hole in the piston, far more likely. If this thing lost the head off a valve, and the head off the valve got between the piston and the head when the piston was on its way back up and punched a hole in the piston, that would explain everything. Oh, now I got compression. And you know why? Because I removed the push rods and the valves. Remember when I said a while ago that if the push rods were bent or something, you'd have nothing but compression. Well, I got nothing but compression now. It can't be that simple. It can't be that the valves are out of adjustment, can it? That don't make any sense. Why would they be? Let's put the push rods back in it. Oh, get them picked up off the floor here. They seem fairly clean. So basically it's the reverse of what I just did. You set them through, there's a hole there that they can fit in. You put it in, the push rod, and then you got to kind of feel for the little pocket. This little ball goes into a little socket in the lifter down there that when you get it, you know. That feels like it, but then you pull the rope and look and see if it's going up and down like it's supposed to. Yep, there she goes up. There she goes back down. Okay. So you push on the opposite of what you just did. You push on the valve to get you some room and slip this back in the little pocket on the lifter like that. or the rocker, I mean. And then you do the same thing over here. Put this in, guide it around, find the little pocket it goes in right there, I bet. Hold on to it and test. Be sure it's going up. Looks good. Make sure it's all the way down so you got maximum amount of room to work. And then you spin this around, push down. That's the hard part. And sneak that push rod right back on there. And I'm not there, I'm on there. Okay, so the valves are staying open. A little more, and they're rocking. Right there. That, tight valve. This thing's out of adjustment by a lot. Okay. What do you say we adjust the valves? Stand by. All right, we've got our feeler gauges. We have to put the engine in a place, which I believe it's already in, but I'm going to move it around to be sure. But in a place where neither one of these lifters that are attached to the push rods that are attached to this is hitting a lobe. That's the important part, is that they're both down. So I'm going to pull this, and I see that that valve is going in. That's the exhaust valve. Now, as soon as the exhaust valve's done, the intake valve will probably go. And there goes the intake valve. You might have noticed that exhaust valve just bumped just a little bit just now. That is going to be the compression release. And now it's off. We go just a little bit more. We're going to call that both closed. Now, there are two different measurements. It's between 4 and 6 on the intake, and between 6 and 8 on the exhaust. What we're going to do is aim for the middle of those two. I've got a 5 thousandths and a 7 thousandths ready to go. So the intake is going to be the one that takes the 5 thousandths. That's right in the middle of our range. And if we stick that in here, it don't go. And it don't go because these valves are super tight, so tight that there is no compression. I'm going to crack this loose. Maybe. I'm being gentle. It isn't super tight, but I don't want to snap that little skinny bolt off either. I don't see why it would do that, but we're going to see if we can loosen this up. They're just a touch, and I felt a whole bunch loosen off of it. Okay. So she was super tight, ridiculously so. Somebody may have tried to adjust the valves while they were rocking, while there was pressure on them. I don't know. I don't understand how that could happen. And I don't know that I'm getting in from that side. I'm still not in there. There. Okay, now we tighten it down till we feel a little bit of drag, which I am feeling the appropriate amount of drag now. Now the real trick is keeping the big nut tight, or still, while you tighten the little nut. The little nut keeps it in place. And what's also bad is that these have a tendency to either tighten or loosen just because you did this. Even if you're sure you haven't moved, something happens when you tighten this little nut to throw your adjustment off. Like right now, it's too tight, which is why I left that feeler gauge there. Even though that wrench didn't move, that is what happens. Wow. Yeah, that's super tight. I'm going to back that out a little more. Back it out a little more. Tighten it just a nudge. Right there. Check it for the 100th time because I don't trust it at all. It's got play, but I don't think it's got enough. No. I have to loosen it just a nudge. Still tight. And you'll go through this. You'll fight some will go easy. This one is not easy. All right. Try again. Okay, this one was between 4 and 6. Now that we've set it with 5, here's what we do. We're going to do the go, no-go gauge trick. We know a 5 fits. Let's see if a 6 fits. It does not. Well, it does, but it's super drag. There, it's loosening up a little bit. Okay, now let's go outside, the no-go. This should not fit. And it does not. Okay, that one's right. Now I'm going to do that with the other one, and I'll be right back. Well, I got the valves adjusted, and now we have compression. That's what we're looking for. That's what was missing. So that part is solved. I noticed something. There's a gasket on this valve cover. That's nice. But there's also a pile of shmoo. There's no shmoo on the gasket. And the gasket only fits one way because it's got these little locating holes right here. There's a locating hole there. And there's a locating hole here. Huh. What do you reckon's going on there? If I had to guess, I would say either this is a different valve because there's nothing under it. I picked this baby up and looked inside. There's no sign of goop on this side. There's nothing in there. So that kind of makes me wonder. This was loose, remember? Do you suppose someone replaced it and got a gasket? I don't understand. And looking at it, this line, the gasket would have, I don't see any way that could have happened. This gasket is thick enough where it comes in over here from the hole to there. This line wouldn't exist. So did they change the head? I just don't know what's going on there. I may want to get a torque wrench and check these head bolts. But I think before I go to all the torque wrenchy stuff, let's see what size they are. They're a 10. That one ain't moving. That one you can't get to. Take the plug out. It's also loose. Everything's loose. Wasn't a bolt tight anywhere. Can't explain that, but there it is nonetheless. Get on there. Well, enough to tell it's tight. Those are down the hole, but if the top two are tight, the bottom two probably are too. We're just going to run with it. If it's got a problem, we'll find out. I don't think it does. Probably start reassembling it, but I'm going to have to get the razor blade and clean this shmoo off. I've got no words for that. I don't know what's going on there. It's very strange to me. There's even shmoo down the holes, but somehow none of it stuck to any part of the gasket, didn't leave any, normally there's A little bit of shmoo stuck to the gasket. But right now, what the shmoo is doing is this going to make the gasket not seal evenly. You got to pick one. Shmoo is fine. I use a product called The Right Stuff. Works great. It's not cheap. But what it is extremely effective. It works every single time if you follow the directions. But gasket is perfectly acceptable as long as you've got even pressure all the way around and don't way over tighten it. There's no reason not to use that gasket that looks brand new. Could be it was schmooed on, but again, the only thing holding this is these little punch outs here are very tight. They're like locating dowels. But you look in there, there is no sign of shmoo, I don't believe. So, riddle me this, Batman. What's going on here? It could be it was, and they cleaned it maybe? Is that shmoo? Oh, I found some shmoo. Okay. So there's just a hint of shmoo where the two pieces, this is a two-piece valve cover. In here, there's a second piece. And the reason for that is to give some airspace for this little damper here. That's like a PCV valve. The air can only get out, it can't get back in. And the idea is for it to create a vacuum on the engine, keeps the seals from leaking, it gets the nasty fumes out of there that are kind of acidic and bad for it. Mostly it's blow-by from the rings. The engine goes off and the combustion products go past and get into the oil. And this sucks those fumes out before they can break the oil down as fast. But it also has the added benefit of keeping the seals from leaking quite so quick. They got to be pretty bad to leak when you've got a good working PCV valve. They got to really, really be loose. And of course, if you've got pressure, because you don't have a PC valve, this thing's airtight, it will push oil out of those seals. So it's good to have. All right, I'm going to get a razor blade because your thumbnail really isn't the approved tool for this. And I'm going to clean all this shmoo off, put the valve cover back on, put the muffler back on, and today I have a carburetor coming. Not your typical carburetor. There's a little surprise in store for that. I'm not even going to try to rebuild this. There's probably nothing in the world wrong with this carburetor. Let me just start there. This carburetor is probably fine. I don't care. I don't plan on using it. I'm going to take this carburetor off. I'm going to replace it with a entirely different carburetor that does something a little different than this one does. We'll be back. Suppose the next thing we should do while we're in the pursuit of getting this thing running is to check it for spark. Let me put you in a place where we can see. I didn't do that first, and I normally do, and I'll tell you why. When you don't have any compression when you pull the rope, spark's the least of your problems. You need to, anything that could keep it from running, you need to address. And there's no particular order about that. If it doesn't have any compression, it doesn't matter if it's got spark. That's a bigger problem. So I get this loose spark plug out of here. We got this contraption here. How do I guess you just stuff it in there, huh? Yeah, it's stuffed. All right, let's jam it somewhere. Can I jam it under this muffler? Yeah, that should be enough ground. Okay, so focus your attention on the little pointy thing there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a ton of spark, and I didn't even pull it like I meant to start it. So we're good there. All right. So you may notice, probably not though from this angle, I have taken it off its kickstand. And I did that to put this engine on kind of a downward angle. It's got two drain plugs. It's got one drain plug towards the rear and one towards the front. We're going to be using the one towards the front. All the oil is going to be running down this way, and I'm going to drain it. So I'm going to get you set up. I've got my bucket cleaned out more or less. And by bucket, I mean cottage cheese container. So if there's any chunks or water or something, we should be able to see it. And I'm hoping I can get that under there. I think I can. And so let me rearrange this camera where you can kind of see what's going on. We're going to pull the cork, and you're going to learn about the same time I do just how bad the situation is. Remember, when they sold this to me, the guy said, he didn't elaborate much, but he said moisture had gotten to it. This sounds to me like water. If this thing was outside with all this crap loose, you'd think water was in there. But the rope says engine not locked up, engine got good compression. So in any case, I'm changing the oil. Never trust somebody else's oil. You get one used off of Craigslist or something, you bring it home, don't even pull the rope till you change the oil. Don't try to start it, because you don't know what they've done. You don't know what's in there. You don't know if anything's in there. This could be empty. It wouldn't shock me with all the other stuff loose if they had drained the oil. The drain plug might be loose. I better check both of them. But we're going to drain what's in there and see how bad the situation is. I'll bring you back. Well, I'm going to readily admit this isn't the best position I've ever put you guys in, but it's the one I got. Got my bucket under, and under enough that it has to catch the oil, unless the laws of physics change and it starts running uphill. But I'll crack that drain loose there. Drain nuts loose. All right, let's start pulling this out. Get oil all over myself, because that's every time. Let's see if there's any water in it. I really got my fingers crossed that there isn't, but there is. A little bit of water. And then it just stopped. I'm going to go with no. That can't be good. This is a bad idea. Don't do this at home. I've got a leaf. That's right. You heard me correctly. I got a leaf. I'm going to poke in that hole and see if there's a clot stopping me, or if they have in fact drained it. They have in fact drained it. There is nothing in there but water. And that water was that much water and a little bit of oil. Mostly water. So there's not really a lot of water in it. I'm going to put, again, don't do this at home. I believe I'm going to put some diesel fuel in that, just a touch, to try and absorb some of that water. WD-40 is water displacement, something that they used to use for that very purpose, to get rid of water, and it's mostly diesel fuel or something close to it. And I've found that diesel fuel, you put a little bit in the crankcase, you drain it out, and then you put your oil in like normal, and you've generally got rid of as much as you're going to get rid of. I am thankful that it's empty, that they didn't just leave water in it. But, yeah. I was hoping there wasn't water. I suppose while we're checking fluids, we need to find out what's in this gas tank. I'm going to take this little clip off of here. Little spring clamp. Get him out of the way. Crack this fuel line loose. Good luck, because it is cracked before I touch it. Okay, it's moving. And yeah, it'll come right off. Let me get my little tub. Let's see what's in this gas tank. Best possible scenario is probably nothing, but we can't be that lucky. All right, let's see if I can take it off by hand. Yeah, it's coming. And it's off. Well, it's something. I assume it's fuel. I'm going to put this under and let it catch it. It's going to be a little while. Usually the water comes out first. I'll crack this. I don't think that's really holding me back, but in fact, I believe that's the end. Nothing else coming out of there. I hope that's because it's empty and not because the screen in the tank is blocked. I don't know. But it is slowing down and probably stopping. Let me see if I can see inside of there. I'll bring you with me. Let's see what we got here. Well, maybe. No screen thingy. Let me get a light. I got a light here. Turn it on. Ooh. It's actually, how am I going to do this so you can see? That's actually not bad. I don't know if you can see or not, but it is not rusty in there at all. Boy, talk about your lucky strokes. Filthy all around it, but it's good inside. Okay, so the gas tank is bone dry. Yay. And if there was water, there was so little that I couldn't detect it. It's done draining now. Just like one little drip every now and then. So I'm going to put this hose back on. Oh, there's a little more drips. There was a little bit in the hose when I pulled the hose. So I'm going to just keep pulling the hose. Here I am, pulling my hose. All right, you're done. Don't shake it more than twice. Plug that back in where it won't leak. Let's see what we got. Well, it's dirty. I don't see any water. Got a bubble. Pop that bubble. Yeah, there's no little water trolls rolling around in the bottom. Oil floats on water. The water goes right to the bottom. Smells like gas. Smells actually pretty darn fresh, to be honest with you. Smells pretty decent. Wonder where it went. Wasn't in the crankcase. Somebody drained the gas out of it? Nobody knows. Well, okay then. So that's a plus. All right, well, after a long wait, my carburetor came. In that time, I changed the oil. I rinsed it out a little with some diesel fuel and then filled the oil right on up. In fact, I'll mop up a little bit of extra diesel fuel oil combo there. Okay. So I wonder, is that how they run a two-stroke diesel? No, it's not. Actually, the diesel lubricates the cylinder on those, I believe. All right, so we're going to swap out this carburetor. Now, the new carburetor doesn't look exactly like the old carburetor. You're going to see some subtle differences. We got a little spring right here. And then as you pull this out, if you turn this throttle, this will just lift right out. Nothing to it. I've already got the fuel line off, so this is just going to waltz right on out of here like that. Now, the new carburetor looks more complicated, but it's actually far simpler. There's the new carburetor. Now, this is not what I ordered. This is what I got. The one I ordered had a brass screw right here, and this button was brass. On this one, it's the cheapest possible version, apparently. The picture did not match what I got. It has a plastic button. And this valve is not really a valve. They're calling it a selectable orifice. This is a propane carburetor. Selectable orifice is kind of an exaggeration. It's got two holes and neither one of them's right. But when this comes, it's usually real loose. When you turn this knob, it is kind of almost floppy. I put a larger O-ring in it and jammed it in there with a lot of lube and a little poking with a screwdriver to be sure I didn't cut it in half. And finally got it in, and it's pretty snug now, which means when you turn it somewhere, it'll stay there unless you really whack it with something. But anyway, it goes on exactly the way the old carburetor went off. Remember when I told you this was just a Predator? Well, that's kind of wrong too. It is a clone of a Honda motor. Calling it a Predator is just calling it another clone. This one has Kohler on it. They probably all come from the same factory or just a very few factories, maybe a couple of them. This one I suspect is slightly better quality than the cheapest of the cheap, but it's like a 160 GX or something to that effect is the one everybody's copying. And it's basically just a 6.5 horsepower Chinese motor that's just a copy of a Japanese Honda. But anyway, if you're looking for a carburetor for this type of engine, this Chinese clone, or at least if you're looking for a propane one, I assume for the other carburetor too, you can just search for a generator kit, actually, a dual fuel or triple fuel, tri-fuel generator kit, and you can come up with a propane carburetor. There is nothing to this. This is a little damper. When it senses engine vacuum, it opens and lets propane through, which means you got to be cranking it for it to get fuel through. Now, you might ask yourself, well, how are you going to do that with a rope start? We got this button here. This button is a prime button. You push that button and it defeats that and just starts shooting propane right down her throat. And once you get a little bit of propane in there, it'll start and run on its own pretty easy. But anyway, that's the thing that does that. I have capped off the gasoline line because I don't intend to use gasoline with this engine. If I ever sell it, I'm leaving the gas tank and everything on it, and I'll sell it with that old carburetor. This carburetor will run with gasoline, but there's a reason I wouldn't. And the reason is this carburetor doesn't have a shutoff valve because it's for a generator, not for a Predator. Now, they may make a Predator version that has this shutoff valve here to turn your fuel off. I feel like that's a great thing that it needs, but it doesn't have it, and it doesn't matter because I don't plan on using gasoline in this. Now, you might ask yourself, why? Why would you ever convert a log splitter to propane? What possible advantages are to that? Well, there's a little bit of disadvantage. It's a little harder to fill up. You have to go get another bottle or have yours filled up. I just take mine to the local farm store and fill them up. They're easy to change. I would argue you could change the propane bottle faster than you could refill that tank. It'll run a little longer on the propane bottle. It'll run cleaner. The oil doesn't get as foul, but you still need to change it. So the one advantage, the reason I've been switching a lot of my stuff to propane is these float bowls, the gas evaporates in them, things rust and corrode and mess up. You're constantly fooling with a freaking carburetor. Seems like it never fails, and gasoline hasn't been worse than it is right now. We are probably at the peak crappiness of gasoline. Well, propane kind of just stays propane. It doesn't foul up your carburetor because it doesn't even use your carburetor. This propane comes up out of here. It goes into a pipe that they've grafted into this carburetor. And that pipe goes in about halfway. It's out of the way of the butterflies, and that's really all it does is stay out of the way of the butterflies. And basically, the engine vacuum, as the engine comes through, it's right in the venturi. So it's at the peak vacuum place. And the engine sucking wind turns this little valve on and lets it have propane. This variable orifice is not really a variable orifice at all. It's like a one-size-fits-all hat. It doesn't fit anybody right. So you have to adjust it. Well, because it turns, you can turn that orifice a little. You can turn that knob and kind of pinch off some of it so that it's only getting a little bit of propane. And you can sit here and adjust that until the engine runs smooth. But I'd much rather have the one with a set screw that you adjust and you're done. But anyway, that's the one I got. So I'm going to put the air cleaner back on. Good luck. Watch that carburetor be in the way of my air cleaner. Yeah, we're going to have to make a modification, I got a feeling. Let me see. This goes here. And it would. But carburetor's in the way. I'm going to get my tin snips or something and make a little modification to a part of this that isn't doing anything anyway. Just remove some of this extra bulk over here so that goes on smooth like it should. And we'll be ready to see if this thing will start. Remember, we got a major, well, I don't know how major, but we definitely got a leak in that, I believe it's the low pressure return line there or something, or the feed line for the pump where it gets its low pressure because it's sucking on it, or the filter. That seems to be the general area the leak's coming from. It's not in these nice hoses. The high pressure hoses all look brand new, which they should. It's not a very old one. Maybe it's just a loose clamp. We'll find out. Let me alter this a little so I can get this air cleaner on here. All right. Well, I trimmed a small piece out of this plastic. Just a minimal amount. That's all that was required. And we're going to install, we hope, the plastic. Trying to align the choke while we're at it. Good luck. What? That one's right. Is it this other one is not? There it goes. Okay, and then this pipe. Does it go over or under? Well, put the spark plug on. Looks like it would have to go under. Okay. So we're going to move that that spark plug up, I guess. Slide this in. Put that hose on there. I believe that's good. I don't believe it's jamming on anything. Let me check the throttle linkage. I believe it's going to be okay. I got some nuts. The nuts on. Now, seems a little springy, but what I believe that is this spark plug, which is definitely a tight fit, but I just don't believe it goes under that vent tube. That's better. It's a little less springy now. Push it in, tighten the nuts. Okay. Wrong way. That seems good. You want to twist these off. You need them, snug, but you don't need to stand on them. That's good. Okay, nothing wiggly, nothing floppy. This fuel line is mostly in the way. I'm just going to kind of try to find a place to guide it to. I don't know where that's going to be, but here's it out of the way. That's all I care about, is that the fuel line's not where it's going to get all foobar. That's the choke. It appears to be working as expected and not falling off. That's a key point. We're going to need the air filter, such as it is. It actually looks pretty clean, other than the dirt it picked up laying on the floor. And there, it looks pretty good. Spider web. Yeah, I think we're on the inside. You see the filter element itself looks great. So we're using that. Just slip that on there and it should fit over that rubber, which it did. Got a wing nut for him. Good luck. There it goes. Snug it down, but don't ridiculously over tighten it. Don't want to crush it. Feels good. I've got plastic box. Says Kohler. Really Chinese. Tighten that down. Wouldn't it be nice if Kohler was making China clones? What a China clone it would be. All right, we're going to unplug the spark plug. Man, the more I think about that, the more I think that goes under. I just really kind of think it might, but problem is you can't tell by looking, and it kind of looks like it doesn't too. So we're going to tighten that spark plug because it's still hand tight. It's been just laying in there. I hope I got the wrench that fits it out here, but I bet I don't. We're going to try what I got, but what I think is that I'm going to have to go out to the shed and get my special Chinese lug wrench, or spark plug wrench. Let's see how big it looks. Well, it looks bigger than this one. No, it is that one. Okay, well, that is one saving grace. Let's snug this bad boy down. And again, a little bit tight, but don't twist it off. Feel it stop, give it just a little tiny bit more, call it good. If it doesn't feel like it will unscrew while it's running, it's probably tight enough. Okay, that's on there. All we lack now is to apply some propane and pull the rope. That's really all that's left. Yay! Just that easy. And stand by. We'll find some propane. So I came over here to look at this oil leak problem that I feel like I have in light of the drips. I may have found the problem. I was cleaning up some of these pipes here to get a better look at them. And yeah, I don't feel like it's supposed to be that loose. So I could tighten that filter up and use it. But if it's been that loose, and it's been outside like I think it has, how much water do you think has pooled up on top of this and got into there? Maybe none. Possibly some. So at a minimum, I want to take that filter off and dump whatever's in it out, clean it up, look at it, see if it's really dirty. But I just have very little faith when I see it loose like that, and it's no wonder it leaked. If somebody managed to get this thing started with that filter that loose, it would have been a mess. It would have, because see, that's the return line. What we have here, here's your control valve, that's just forward and backward on the ram. But whichever way it's going, if it's in the middle, it's in neutral. So basically, it comes out of the pump, which is this hose right here, and it comes around and it goes up and it feeds the center right here. So this is all that one hose. That's out of the pump. Okay, so high pressure fluid is going through here, right through the center, and right back down to that filter. When you pull this lever one way or the other, you can pull it this way, you can pull it that way. But when you do that, fluid will go through this line or this short line, which you can't see right now, but there's a very short connection right here. And that, pressurizes this large ram, moves it this way and that way. Basically, that's all there is to it. Well, this is high pressure hydraulic fluid. It goes through, it is still high pressure hydraulic fluid, and it hits that filter. That should have shot fluid to the sky. There is fluid on a lot of things here. There's fluid. This pump is a little greasy, like it's had fluid on it. These hoses are not leaking. They are dry as a popcorn fart. So that loose filter, definitely a problem. I don't think this line's leaking at all. I thought it was, but I really don't anymore. I believe it's that filter. The fluid inside the tank is probably okay. This big block here is the actual tank. On the other side, I'll take you around and show it to you. There's a fill plug with, I believe, a vent in it. There's a little hole drilled in the side of it like it's got a vent. But basically, it's just a big metal plug stuck in here. And a little hole right there that I feel like is the vent. Water could have got in there, but it couldn't have been much. But anyway, I believe I'm going to pull that filter. And for that, I'm going to need an oil catcher, because I just know, whoops, I'm going to get tangled up in stuff here. I reach in there, see what I got. Well, I got a coffee can, cottage cheese container, and this big thing that I use to drain motor oil in. How many of you think that I'm going to use the coffee can? Well, if any of you said yes, I think that's where we're going, because I didn't think it'd fit, but it did. All right. Start unscrewing that filter, which, as you can see, won't be difficult. And here comes something that I'm hoping is hydraulic fluid. Just pouring out. What that could mean is this thing is full up way high. That could be a problem, because that could mean it's full up with water. I don't see how it could be, but seems like it's got more fluid than I expected. There's the filter. Now all I gotta do is get a hold of it Yeah, I'm gonna drop it. If I can get a finger in it or anything. Ah, here we go. All right. I'm turning it a little to get the extra out. Okay. Well, it's out of there. If I can navigate it out of the hole. Okay, she's out. Oh, and then I turned it upside down. Yeah, I knew that was coming. It's okay, I only dumped about a gallon. Hardly enough to be noticeable. Glad I got an extra rag that I wanted for something else entirely, but it's now devoted to cleaning this mess up. Okay. Well, I don't think it was over full because it quit running out of that hole. And full would be right up to there. I think you're supposed to have the filter off when you fill it so that you know when you're at the top. There may be a little plug on the other side you pull so you know when you're at the top too. I'm not sure. I'll find out. But I believe I'm just going to change that filter. How much could it cost? $10? Cheap insurance. I don't know what's been through that filter, so we're just going to change it. All right, I'm going to have to run to AutoZone or Napa or something, see if I can come up with one. Yeah, I'll bring you back. I think the next thing we better do is take this plug out of the hydraulic fluid just long enough to see if there's any water in it. We don't want water in that system. Turn your hydraulic fluid into milk. Okay, there was at least a little bit of water and it came out. Try and do this without making a huge mess. I'm putting the cork back in it, but of course, just like when you change your auto oil, as soon as that plug comes out, you get drowned, and I'm dripping. Trying to keep myself over this tub, but good luck. All right. That's as tight as I can get it without going over the top. Yeah, that's got to be good. Okay. Let me reposition here and we'll look in that tub, see what we got. I don't know how well it'll show up, but there is a small amount of water there. This is mostly fluid, but there are just a couple of droplets. So that's nothing to be concerned about, thankfully. I have to go ahead and dump some fluid in this. I'm going to do that off camera because it'll be possibly a struggle with that 5-gallon jug. But I'm going to fill her up as best I can, and we're going to go from there. All right, well, the fluid doesn't even show on the stick. Dry as a bone. So, I'm going to be putting quite a bit in there, I think. That funnel is unlikely to stay, it would appear. I got a little bit of hydraulic fluid over here in the dirtiest jug imaginable. If I can't clean it up at least a little, I'm going to put all of this in there first. Then we're going to come back to the other one. Man, there's dust on my funnel again. I just cleaned this funnel off, and in a few seconds I'm away from it, it picks up more dust. All right. Probably wouldn't hurt nothing, but that's not the point. Bubbles. More bubbles. It'd be a miracle if this even gets it on the stick. Whoa, 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 too much bubbles. I make a mess. Not a big one though, just a little dribble there. All right. Well, it's got that jug in there. As I say, it'll be a miracle if it even touches the stick here. I'm gonna put the stick in just a little bit, pull the stick out. Hey, I'm showing almost enough fluid. Huh. That's hard to believe. That wasn't but about a gallon and change. Check it again. She is to right there. Hold still, finger. Right there. That's close. That's almost good. But since we're doing a fill, we want it full. I don't feel like reusing that fluid. So, what I got is a 5-gallon bucket. Oh, and it's heavy. We're going to put some of that in there. Now we got a problem. The problem is that funnel doesn't want to stay. And I get the distinct impression that if I trust it to stay, that will be misplaced trust. I got another funnel here. If I can figure out where. I did have a big old funnel. What become of him? Got kicked behind something, I guess. Strange that I can't find it. Nobody would steal a funnel, which leaves very few reasons it would be missing. I got a little skinny funnel. I don't like that. Huh. Well, nothing over there. Okay, we're going to have to use the crappy little tiny skinny funnel. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And I'll tell you why I don't like that. That's why. It goes into the fluid. When I start pouring fluid in there, it's going to back up. Wonder if there's another way. Wonder if I could put this funnel inside of this funnel. Will that make it not go as far? Maybe. That seems kind of ridiculous, honestly. But it'll keep that one funnel from falling over. Though I won't be using it, so I'm not sure how that's a win. All right, let me uncork this. I ought to transfer this to that smaller jug as much as will fit. I was kind of hoping to use a lot of this. I got a feeling I'm getting this on the floor. Oh, yeah. Yeah, my first little mess, not quite like this one. I got it all over the place on the floor. Didn't get none in my hair. So there's that. Let me see if I got anywhere. Yeah, that's right to the little line where it says hi. I'm going to call that good. I believe we're ready to put some propane to this and try to start it. Pretty sure that's where we're at now. How much fluid's in that? Oh, geez, yeah, that's never going in that other jug. Bummer. Fold that up. Okay, let me find a propane tank. We'll see if we can't get this baby lit up. Okay, well, normally you don't have to choke a propane-fired appliance if it's got the helper button. I'm going to give it a little help and pull the rope. Needs a lot more help. Got to remember there's air in that line. Probably a lot of it. Okay, we'll try a little choke. Well, she ain't doing nothing. Surely it doesn't need the big orifice. I still think I need choke off. Well, I see we're going to have difficulties. I'll be back. All right, so I took the propane contraption off. And the reason I took it off is because I fooled with it for a while. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned that these plastic ones are garbage. And sure enough, this thing wouldn't light. I really don't believe anything's wrong with that engine, but to find out, I cleaned up the old carburetor a little bit. Didn't need much. And what we're going to do, get you in a better place here. What we're going to do is try and start it on gasoline. We know it's supposed to run on gasoline. Almost anything will. Let's see what happens. I've got it on choke. The gas is on. Gas is on. I checked the float. I know it's working. And choke is on. Less choke. Sparks on. Well, the problem might be that this thing don't run for some reason. What could that be? It's got compression. Well, now, it's a bit troubling. Are we getting gas to the carburetor? It's easy enough to check. Loosen this bolt. Gas comes out. Definitely got gas. Okay. What could be your problem? Couldn't hardly jump time. I don't see anything. Maybe we need to do a compression check on this thing. I got starting fluid as a last resort. Hate to use it. Oh. Give it a couple more rips. Let's turn that choke off. How much choke could you really need? Well, I ain't getting nothing. And that fuel was on. I'm going to turn it off now. All right, let me debate this a little bit, and I'll come back. May have found the problem. Now, you might be asking yourself, what did I do? And the answer is nothing. What I did was turn the choke wide open, pull it and pull it and pull it, and then it started. Now that would indicate it's flooded, but it was doing that with propane. There's no way in the world it was flooded. I think the valves weren't sealing real well from sitting and sitting and sitting, which is what this thing's undoubtedly done. It's run like a top now on gasoline. I'd like it to run on propane, but I'm not too sure. I don't know. The engine sounds healthy. It's not knocking. It's not acting stupid. It's running. It's running right. It's working the hydraulic pump properly. It's not acting weak. Of course, I'm not crushing a log either. I got to look around the side of the house here, see if I can find a good solid log to bust. I do believe it's fixed insofar as the gas engine's concerned, which means right now I could stop and consider it done, but I really want it to work on propane. Cleaning carburetors is just stupid. But anyway, for the moment, we've got it working on gas. I may make a separate video if I decide to go back to fighting it with propane, but for the time being, it's alive. Now I'm going to tell you what I paid for this and make you sick. $200. $200 on Facebook Marketplace. The engine was supposed to be locked up. Honestly, wasn't a lot wrong with the engine other than I think those valves weren't seating good. Once I finally got it to pop over and run, I think it cleaned the valves, which is what normally happens. They will get a little crusty stuff under the valves and just will not seal as tight as they should to run. Runs now. Really wanted this thing to work on propane. And it will, eventually, probably. I'm planning on hanging on to this for a while. I actually am going to end up with wood to split I don't really want to do. But I don't burn wood myself, but I'm going to be cutting down some trees to make a food plot. And rather than just pile the logs up and burn them, which is wasteful, I was thinking I'd put them together as firewood and sell them. Which, as you can see, I don't own a fireplace. I don't own a cook stove. But there sets a cord of wood. This winter's not been the best for selling wood. It's been pretty warm. But nevertheless, that's what I've done with this thing. I got it running. And all I honestly did was just open the choke wide open and pull it till I about gave myself a hernia. And finally it started to catch. And I was like, oh, hey, it's starting to catch. I got a couple more pulls in me. And from the time it started to catch, probably 5 pulls later, it just barely lit up. It cough, 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 and then it just come to life. So I'm guessing the valves were dirty. I could have pulled the head off and bought a head gasket for nothing. Apparently the head gasket's not leaking or anything. Nothing wrong there, so why? But I could have. I just didn't. I just kept pulling it until it ran, and that's what it needed. Now that it's run, it should start first pull every time. Let's see here. Put this in the go position. Don't fool with nothing. There you go. So yeah, I'm going to let this thing get ice cold. Turn the gas off. I'm going to let this thing get ice cold and try it again in a little while. See where that goes. But I'm hoping that once it gets cold, it'll start right up. I'm going to bring you back for that just in case it doesn't. Okay, so I've waited for this thing to get ice cold. I didn't, I don't want it to be warm because I want to find out if it's starting right now. So what we're going to do is turn the gas on, like so. And I wonder if I should choke it. I'm going to try it without choking it first. Open the throttle up a little. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I've got questions. And the first one would be, I wonder why I don't need the choke. Almost every one of these, Predator wannabes, this is a Kohler, but it's still a Chinese knockoff of a 168F or something. So it should really be about the same. They should all want choke on the first pull, shut the choke off to run. This one doesn't. It also likes to have the throttle wider open, apparently. Normally, I would start these things at or near idle. Not golf carts, but go-karts. If you don't start them at idle, they're going to take off without you. So, they need to be able to start at idle. This one doesn't like to start at idle. It likes to start with a lot more throttle. I can't figure that out. I mean, if it was running too rich, maybe. But it wasn't running too rich on propane. I mean, I don't know. It is running good now, and it wouldn't run at all before. So we're going back to the propane. I'm going to get the propane carburetor put back on this thing, and we'll see how that works. All right, I've got the propane carburetor back on her. And I love this thing. It's got a little fuel gauge, so you can tell how much gas is in it. Of course, for that to happen, the gas has to be on. That sounds like a leak. That's strange. All right, let's see what's going on here. Where we're not threaded on at all. There we go. I don't like those. I kind of like the ones with tools. Now, granted, it's nice to not need a tool. It's right now. Let's see here. Yeah, a little fuel gauge jumped up there. Yeah, it kind of went sideways for some reason. All right. So, if this thing starts, I'm going to have to jump on this adjustment knob. Man, where am I going to put you that you're not in my way and I'm not in your way? Here. Okay, there's a little adjusteroni right here that I will need to get after if it starts. I'm leaving the throttle where it was, not going to even turn on the choke, but I am going to prime it a little. Hope that's enough. Am I turned on? Yes. Ooh, almost killed it. Let's try that again. Prime it. Huh. Now what? More throttle? Okay, she runs on propane. It's really not that hard, but let me tell you what I learned today that I already knew, but apparently forgot. If it runs good on gas, it'll run good on propane. maybe get it running good before you start, because I had too many things going on at once. I was blaming the carburetor, blaming the valves, blaming 100 different things. Maybe it was flooded. But the reality was that turn this propane off. Not that it matters. That big diaphragm on there is what turns off the propane. I'm here trying to chase 3 problems at once. Get it running on gas. If it's running on gas, it'll run on propane. If it's not running on either one, it ain't going to run on either one. And basically all that was wrong was the valves, because it sat so long, had a little bits of crusty dusties underneath the valve seats, where the valve seats in the head, and it was just short on compression. I just pulled it, and it almost start. And those little bit of burns there where it almost started, that little bit of flame front rolling through, apparently pushed the stuff out of the valves like you expect it to do. Once it started, I run that sucker up to about 3/4 throttle. I just let her roll for a while. Let those valves burn back in where they belong. Basically just knock the carbon dust and dirt and rust and who knows what else out of them. Now it runs good. That's all it took. And you notice I did not have to choke it. This thing just doesn't like choke. I might as well not even put the lever back in it. But I did, because who knows, maybe it will someday. Anyway, I believe that wraps this one up. Propane log splitter. Never clean the carburetor again. I love that. Hey, if y'all like the video, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.